welcome back to another episode from my How Do I series. My name's Amia Serrano and I'm a fashion stylist. And today I'm super excited about this because I have Christopher Campbell, you guys. Fashion director of Flaunt magazine and fashion stylist.
Oh my God, you're so good on camera. I can't even believe it. It's like a gift. I mean, you're obviously very talented in the style department too, but I mean, gosh, you are really good. Just lights up and hi!
So you guys, I had the pleasure and opportunity of assisting Christopher, so that's how we met. We did the cover shoot for, well, you styled it, and I helped you on the cover shoot with Kesha for Elle.
Yes.
Fatima for Marie Claire Arabia, and then we got to go to Catalina for Glass, which was really cool. So, Christopher, for people that don't know you just yet, I know I do, and I know a lot of other people do, but there's some people out there that are just getting into styling and they want to get to know
Everybody knows me, silly.
Okay, so introduce yourself, let people know what else you've done besides these other cool stuff that I got to work with you.
Sure. Worked 20 years for different magazines. You know, also I studied journalism, off to do personal styling. I have personal clients. I have celebrity clients for the red carpet. I do a lot of advertising work because without it, I would be destitute.
Very true. Now that everyone has a little bit about your background, how did you get into styling? Was it assisting, interning?
So,
because you know your stuff.
Thank you.
You know your stuff.
Yeah, I'm old school. You know?
Yeah, which I love because there's not a lot of not a lot of old schoolers who know their fashion, who know their models, who know their brands out here in LA.
Yeah, I don't think they're a dying breed in general because
yes.
To understand. So when I became a stylist, you worked at magazines, right? And there were sittings editors, and there were, we were on set, we were assisting, and so we assisted stylists that at a time when there weren't a lot of stylists.
Yeah.
So we're talking mega stylists. It was like a handful of Patty Wilson, Carl Tempa, Joe McKenna. all of these greats, these legendary stylists. It's funny. I didn't even know what a stylist was. I will tell you that it is a calling. And I had that calling from a very young age. So from as early as I can remember, I would dream up these things in my head. I'd be like, I wanted a pair of stonewash kind of this brand called Genera in the 80s. And I wanted like a stonewash, like Chuck Taylor sneaker, blue with patches on it, like just patches all over them. And my mom was like, what?
See if I can Google this.
Like, what is that even? Why would there be a Converse that's denim with patches all over it? And I was like, because that would be so cool.
Right.
And that's what I love about my mom. God bless her soul. She would go all to the ends of the earth to find those shoes for me. And I remember she came home and she was like, here you go. And it was like, I was just like that, I was just always obsessed with clothes, always thinking about things that I wanted and, maybe something I'd seen, maybe something I just come up with in my mind. In high school, I became a writer. I really got into literature and writing. And so I wanted to be a journalist. And I remember, I'd go to Borders or to Barnes & Noble like every week and just tear through every fashion magazine. And they had all the foreign ones too. And I remember I discovered magazines like Arena Homme Plus and Details. All of those magazines that were just Vogue, of course. I'd open these magazines and it was like, I was like, these are my people. Like I can't even believe that this exists. I went to NYU, I studied journalism, and then I was going to be like a fashion journalist and maybe like write about fashion. And
were you like set on like, okay, I'm just going to do fashion journaling?
Yes, because I thought I was like a snob, and I was like, I'm a writer, not a stylist. And like, meanwhile,
now I'm a stylist.
Yes. So, I went to work as an intern at NYU for quite a few different places, but mainly at the end of it at Interview and under Ingrid Sishi at the time. And, I loved it. And then I went, the fashion director there knew somebody at the New York Times, and I got my first job. And that was a miracle. It was just the most incredible thing. It was my dream come true. You know, I got this job at the New York Times Magazine as like a editorial assistant. I think they called them, what did they call them? Some clerks. We were called clerks.
Really?
I know, so old school, right?
It is. I love that you got to start out in that era.
Yeah.
Compared to now, it's so different.
Oh, it's
for people just starting
it's
out.
completely different now. You know.
I appreciate like how it used to be.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't want to. I'm not gonna. Don't let me date myself and seem like a begrudging old man, but I will say that the 90s, I think, were probably the height of fashion. It's when fashion became mainstream, right?
Yep.
It's when people really started to take notice to it, besides just the affluent, rich ladies of the Upper Side or nobility and artists, but actually just everyone started to really kind of look at it. So anyway, I got the job at the New York Times. That was kind of like because it wasn't T at the time, it was the Fashions of the Times, which was T is an amazing magazine too, but it was an incredible magazine. Looking at the New York Times is just sometimes you're just like, what? Like, you know. And I did. I mainly worked on the home design issue. They would do home, men's fashion, women's fashion. I was like, home.
So they started you off in home.
Yeah, which is so random, but I loved it. I did it at first, and then I was like, this is incredible. It was architecture, it was furniture, and you know, it wasn't my passion though.
But it's interesting you're bringing this up because I remember you had a Flaunt shoot, which we'll get into very shortly with Flaunt magazine. You did a Flaunt shoot and you were looking for a location to shoot out of, and you were really honing in on like the architecture of everything.
Yeah,
So it's interesting how like you started off, so you started off like that, and like you were saying before, the concept, the story, it all like has to make sense in tying together.
Yeah, and I will tell you that this is the other thing. Somebody said this to me once recently. I think it was my friend Johanna. She said, you know, if in our 20s and our 30s, clothes are so important to us. Because we're out and about. That's what shows who we are. That's our form of expression. You know, after that, it's kind of like you're more at home. So your home becomes now what's important to you.
Yes.
And I see that transition happening. Not completely. I'll always love clothes, but like, you know, I'm on Facebook Marketplace 24 hours a day looking for treasures, you know? So then I went to Details magazine, and now mind you, the whole time I was not styling. I was doing like editorial assistant work, wanting to be a writer, and they'd give me little blurbs to write, you know. If I wrote one thing in the New York Times this big, I was just like...
So styling wasn't even in your head?
No.
Interesting.
No, you know, and I was a writer, and so what I did was, and they would always make that distinction. They're like, Chris is not a fashion intern, you guys. He's like a writer. He's on the editorial team, and he just loves fashion and is going to specialize in that.
Were people like picking up on it low key? They were just like, I think you're going to get into styling.
No, because there were those jobs. Like, so, you know, you have Anne Slowey at Elle, who's like the fashion. I wanted to be a fashion news, like Sally Singer or Anne or all of those kind of, or even, you know, I mean, Kathy.
Yeah.
Horns, amazing, you know. So that was kind of my goal and my direction. And then I went to work at Details, which was a men's magazine back in the 90s, and it was the best magazine. You know, I would get it in high school, read it cover to cover as soon as the issue would come, and so, you know, getting a job there was great. Actually, my boss left the Times and took me with her. So again, they gave me furniture as a beat, but Details was different because Details was everybody worked on fashion. You just couldn't. It was men's fashion magazine, so I did work on it a lot, and eventually I grew out of the. Maybe I didn't grow out of the home stuff, but they just started giving me more fashion.
Yeah.
It's so much so that one day they were like, "We want you to go style this new actress down in the West Village. The stylist can't make it. She's sick, or I don't know what's wrong with her. It's just gonna be 2 or 3 looks. It's for a portrait of her. You know, she's this kind of young and upcoming actress. You could just like, go down there and fill in for her." And I was like,
I'm sorry, I'm laughing at the noise. Sorry about the noise, you guys.
So, my creative director was like, "I think you do a great job. Call in a couple clothes," and this is like you call the same day and just send it like that. So I remember I called in this amazing, also Gucci by Tom Ford dress. I can't remember. Maybe it was like some sort of boning, like interesting kind of spine-looking bony thing, but like made out of not ivory, but whatever. It was
Yeah.
interesting like that.
Yeah.
And no, maybe it laced up like this, like a corset, but in a really intricate way.
Okay.
She loved it. The picture came out great, and then I was like, I kind of like that. To write about fashion is not, you can't convey what a photo can, right? It's a visual thing.
True.
And don't get me wrong, I think that reviews are great and people have very interesting perspectives. But I do think that the best way to communicate clothes is visually, right?
Right.
You're not describing them, then it just is them. Things led to things. I left details. Then I went to Absolute, that magazine that I told you about. Mainly styling. I decided that for myself. But and then yeah, it was just onwards from there. I then went to work kind of more for like luxury magazines. So Absolute was a luxury magazine, but then they had an opening at Departures, which was, as you know, the American Express magazine. Really well done, very well regarded. And yeah, that was a big job for me. I was there for 3 years. I think I became men's fashion director. I learned all the ins and outs of Italian fashion and the sartorial world and all of that, which is such an invaluable knowledge to have, because it really just kind of it's a nice base point, right? And then I went to Black Book to be their fashion director, and that was all styling all the time. And then Robert Port, I had kind of done I worked with him on project-to-project basis for quite a long time. And then Glass.
So you just kind of.
But I stopped working. I should say this. I stopped working full time at magazines after.
You learned about freelance?
Black Book was the last time I ever did. Because you have to understand, it was a time where like magazines were folding left and center. Black Book folded while I was there. I would go to work for, Absolute, that folded.
Now, you just recently became the fashion director of Flaunt magazine. If you guys don't know, then I don't know what you know.
If you don't know, now you know.
But we are in their offices, and we are here right now based in Los Angeles. So tell us how you became the fashion director of Flaunt magazine.
Sure. So I did a few shoots for Flaunt back in the day. They loved the styling, and so it's funny. I styled that, and then I didn't hear from them for it could have been 10 years.
Really?
But then I moved out here. They started giving me a few shoots, and they really liked them. I found out that Muhe was leaving. I applied for the job. Matthew, my editor-in-chief, who works alongside Louis hand in hand.
This is
Louis Barajas is the owner,
Yep.
the great owner and great leader of Flaunt. He is a force in Los Angeles, a real legend. He's been working in magazines for, I won't say how many decades, but decades. And so he is, he's the lifeblood of this place. He's founder, and so he's stuck to it the whole time. He's still got his finger on the pulse, and so he's a really incredible guy, and I've learned a lot from him already. He called me the following day and was like, "When can you come in here? We want to talk to you immediately." And I was like, "Yay!" And so then it was just like a few talks, and we really saw eye to eye on where the position needed to be, and it's been a marriage of love and war ever since. No, just kidding.
Wait, so as a fashion director, what do you do for the magazine?
So fashion director, good question. So the fashion director is it depends on the magazine, but it's like the head stylist, right? So it's the one, and also a creative director, right? For the fashion stories, they're coming up with all of those concepts. They're, bringing in the photographers that they want to work with. They're doing the edit for the clothes. Those are your main, responsibilities. But then it's also traveling, or going to events for work, because if Gucci has an event, you have to be there.
Right.
If they advertise, you have to send someone. Or if you know,
You're representing the magazine.
you're representing the magazine.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that they offered me this position and
Mhm.
so grateful because it is so much fun. You know, and I have been freelance now I still do a ton of editorial,
Yeah.
but to be at a magazine again, it's just, you know, bounce those ideas off of
Mhm.
people and conceptualize all of these shoots at such a high frequency because I don't know if you guys have seen Flaunt magazine,
Oh,
but
yes.
if you didn't, it is very hefty. So you see that? Wait, you see that? That is
It's like coffee table book.
and that is the feel of success, right? I mean, in a day and age where magazines are floundering,
know.
to have this much advertising, to have
Yeah.
it, to be able to produce a gorgeous, you know, glossy of such size really speaks to the testament of the brand and to its, you know, to its long-standing reputation, you know, and to its readers, its loyal readers. So I would say it's been a blast, though. You know, my first cover shoot was with Julia Fox, and I'm just in love with the way it turned out. You know, I worked tirelessly to get that to happen. I thought she would be a perfect fit for the magazine because she kind of is like represents downtown cool culture and, you know, that irreverence that seems to be like quite a tone of the magazine as well. It's still elevated.
Yeah.
So, you know, I thought she'd be great, and she was. She was fantastic to work with. You know, she's got great taste. You know, and as a stylist, it's like a lot of it really comes down to, are you going to be able to deal with working with this person because of their taste level? You know, if you don't sync up, it's really tough, you know?
Yeah.
Since that shoot with Julia, it's just been like an incredible, like, it's unfolding in an incredible way. And like these amazing opportunities come up every week and I'm like pinching myself, you know? A lot of work though, too, you know? You know, that's what I want everybody to know. Being a stylist is not, I don't know, I can't compare it to anything that's all I've kind of been, except for like maybe a journalist, which is similar. But like, it is hard work.
It is. It definitely
nonstop, 24 hours a day. You're calling in samples, you're tracking the samples, you're, you know, coming up with creative concepts, you're talking to the photographers, you're cultivating your relationships with the public relations teams that, you know, represent designers because that's how you get your samples. It is 100% just a full-time job. It's not easy living. It's work. For me, it's always been something that is intense.
Yeah.
And that said, though, I wouldn't have it any other way. You know, I tell my assistants and my interns when they ask me, how did you get into this? You know, should I do this? I say to them, you know, you have to have the calling for it. If you do not love clothes, like really love them, you're not going to make it in this industry, you know?
It's so funny because I was just going to ask you, what's a key piece of advice that you would give to everyone who's watching this? And I feel like you already...
Yeah, I think that would be, know your clothes, first of all, know them and love them.
Yeah.
Because that's what we do.
Yeah.
And so if you don't, it's like, I couldn't even imagine what a horrible job that would be, right?
Yeah.
Also be you.
Yeah.
Like, just be you. Even if you're not what they want, be you. Because don't give them that satisfaction. And also, eventually, being you will be celebrated. You know, maybe you're ahead of you're ahead of your time.
Yeah.
But eventually you will be. Trying to fit into a cookie cutter image or, you know, a square box is just it's just counterintuitive. It's like, you know, we all are special. We all have our own special, unique gifts. Like, just go with that. And if you do, you're guaranteed happiness.
Yeah. Thank you, Christopher, for doing this.
Of course.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here in Flaunt magazine offices.
Yes. As you can see from our lovely board for the next issue, that this is everything that we have shot so far. It's looking rather beautiful, and it's a strong issue, I must say. Our December-January issue.
Also, are you looking for more interns
and
assistants?
Oh my God.
Yes.
ASAP, guys. I mean, like, I need interns. So it's vital at this point, right?
I love
It's
it. And I will have all his information down below so you guys can contact him directly and hopefully intern or assist him.
You know, I'm very all about like training and education
Yes.
with the people that work with me, and I do think it's an invaluable education. If this is what you want to do, you know, and we're a small staff at Flaunt, so you're gonna get your hands in a lot. You know, it's not just good, it's not a cushy thing. So, it's very informative, and it'll give you all the info you need to go start off your career as a stylist of your very own.
Yes, and I will co-sign that because the jobs that I assisted you on, they're always good.
Obviously.
And he's very nice, you guys. He's really cool to work with. You will learn a lot from him, most definitely. So I highly encourage you guys to reach out to him. If you felt like this episode was very informative, which I feel like it is, and it was the best way to kick off this season 2 of this series, make sure you share, like, and subscribe for more.